Oh, I think it's a huge game changer. Obviously, we had Governor Murphy in New Jersey, and you just mentioned Governor Northam in Virginia. You know, this is a really strong economic issue as well as a social issue. And so I think we're really getting to the tipping point of where the states are starting to fall in terms of cannabis legislation. It's not just the U.S., it's also around the world. Auroa today sells its products in over 13 countries. And so I think the global position on cannabis and cannabinoids in general is definitely positive for companies like Auroa.
Oh, we were talking about this earlier on the team, Miguel. As part of the bill in Virginia, it says home cultivation of up to 4 plants per household permitted. Is that something you would rather not see included? Is that a threat to your business, or anything just generally moving in the direction of legalization is all positive?
No, it's not a threat. You know, we see that structure in Canada and other markets. It's sort of like home brewing that you see in craft beer. Any sort of connection to the plant, overall awareness and positivity around that aspect is good for the industry. So, you know, when you see those home grow provisions, it's definitely not a detriment. We think it definitely creates stickiness for the consumer to the overall category, and definitely is a positive.
So we've seen a lot of consolidation, Miguel, in the industry in preparation for this opening up of legalization. The biggie is Tilray, Afria. We've talked to those CEOs. Canopy's bulked up. Where does that leave you in terms of a push into the U.S.? Can you do it without having more scale, a bigger partner, and a better balance sheet?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously think we can. I mean, I think the strength of Auroa is the diversity of its business. As I mentioned, we operate in 13 countries. We have the #1 medical business in Canada. We have one of the largest international medical businesses. We have the #1 CBD brand, according to Nielsen, in the U.S., and we have a strong rec business. So the diversity of our overall business and the science and genetics behind the company, I think, put us in a good position. You mentioned the balance sheet. You know, overall performance year over year has really been strong for Auroa, and we have over $500 million on the balance sheet, and we're in a position to be opportunistic. When it comes to the U.S., I would tell you not always is bigger better in this situation. I think the science, the regulatory expertise, and the history that Canadian LPs have, particularly Auroa, in the Canadian market will play, you know, really strong in the U.S. I expect the FDA will have a lot to say about the U.S. market, and the only real companies that have that type of regulatory experience are the Canadian LPs. So we think we're in a great position at the time in which the U.S. opens up its market.
Why do you think your stock has lagged some of your peers over the last 6 to 12 months?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of aspects to that. I think first and foremost, we were just at the beginning of this transformation, and I can understand people are looking for that. The recent quarter versus a year ago, I think gives a strong indication that we're on the right path. I think, you know, you have a lot of retail investors, and we're just now starting to see institutional investors, and that there are some investors that really want to see a piece of the U.S., even if it doesn't make exact sense at this juncture. So, you know, it's my job and the job of our management team to prove to others, but with medical margins in the 60s, with a growing international piece of business, as I mentioned, the #1 CBD brand in the U.S., I think there's a lot to like in the Auroa story for investors long term.